having different characters, each of them being allegory of different things, and then wanting to create a universe. My name is Pauline Curnier Jardin.
Hello Pauline, nice to have you here at the SCHIRN, and tonight we're going to show 2 films, and let's start to talk about Titotum. It's a backyard in a house, and there we see a family, we see a woman sitting, we see the children playing around, and once there is a choreography at play, and we see there actually a circus troupe. We also start thinking, what happened? Why are these people bleeding? Mm-hmm. So how do you see the film evolving?
Not trying to explain any narrative, because I didn't think of what happened before and what will happen after. So the film is 3 minutes, but the film tries to show one movement, which is spinning. Mm-hmm. The film repeats the same frame of actors. So you have the blonde boy, and then the hula hoop girls, and then the mother or the big one. For me, she's not only representing she's not only an allegory of a mother, but also of an adult. And so it's a confrontation of an adult world and a children world, and at the same time they all gather in a certain violence. It doesn't seem that someone else from outside is killing them or making them bleeding. They are all self-bleeding. I made this movie with footages of another movie that I did 3 years before, called Bloodbath Parada, so Bloodbath Parade, which is a war movie. So this 3 minutes of self-bleeding children and mother film is made out of leftovers from a war movie. So of course, like the underlying violence also comes from another narration that was a complete different process. Like if I had extracted the pure, direct visual violence from this war movie and put it in a single concentrated piece.
I'm interested in, as you were shooting the Bloodbath Parade in 2014, how is the filming process?
And when I filmed it in Karlsruhe with the circus school that we see in the film, I wanted those gore scenes, but it wasn't completely well thought. Really filming people murdering children, it turned being the children themselves playing with bleeding, playing with self-violence, or ironizing about violence, ironizing about murder, about war. And when I had to edit the images, it was telling so much, but also it was so far from my focus. That was an historical fact, that was a narration that was taking over an historical fact and trying to talk about another subject. I couldn't use those images, and then it's only later, so only last year that I managed to face those images and finally make something out of it.
What does actually Titotum means?
So Titotum means spinning top. So Titotum is actually taken from Alice in Wonderland, when the Queen of Hearts is asking one of her courtesan, one of her servants, about Alice, is she a child or is she a Titotum? And Titotum is an ancient form of spinning top. I just like the Titotum also for its Latin pseudo-scientist musicality.
Talking about musicality and rhythm, it's also something what is very important in your work. And the second movie we are showing, Explosion My Baby, it pushes this aspect even more further. It totally, in a way, relies on the explosion between the sound, the rhythm of the film, and the images we are showing. Moving with the camera in the crowd, and within this explosion of confetti everywhere. And this is a repetitive moment where we see these babies crying in close-ups.
I mean, if there is a big link between the two of them, is that one is about spinning, and the other one is about erecting, because it's only a movement that goes from the bottom to the sky, or to the up. And sometimes I say it's like the last ode to capitalism, where you would like make a huge celebration where you would sell all the babies of Europe. You would spend the whole money you still have, and you would celebrate that in a crazy orgiac, but also hyper-vitalist celebration, with fathers erecting their children, even if they cry, spending their money and making the whole, even the church, exploding. That is like every explosion. It's an euphoric moment, but it's also the end of something, because if you destroy everything, of course, what is left from that? Is it a new world, or is it the end?
In your work, there's always a group of people who perform together. So this is a staged collective, or a community, or how we say it. It's not only the subject alone on itself, but it's also within a frame. Why do you choose them? What they allowed? What is interesting for you to work with them?
I usually work with like a fresque, or like a parade, having different characters, each of them being allegory of different things, and then it's the combination of all those polysemic characters that I can make a cosmogony, wanting to create a universe, wanting to invent, not saying a society, I wouldn't dare saying that, but somehow, of course, behind the idea, behind the desire of making up a cosmogony, there is also a fantasy of a society.
I was also wondering about this reference to experimental film.
I took things from the very beginning. I study things from the very beginning, so first movies. And I also did a master thesis about cinema, about Joan of Arc, so the representation of the ecstatic hero, Jeanne d'Arc, Joan of Arc. So also using the devices of cinema, Super 8 projector, slide projector. I have a whole body of works that are very connected to experimental film and primitive film.
Thank you, Pauline, for joining us at the Beau Feature.
Thank you, Victoria.